Everyone can hear us now. It completely gaffed on us, but we're live again. Restart.
Okay, so everyone can hear us now?
Yeah.
Alright guys, well, thank you for bearing with us. This is the first time that we've done a live stream, but we're really excited to have everybody here. Thank you guys so much for 10,000 subscribers. I think when Aaron and I started the channel, you know, we were just looking to make a few history videos for fun and see where it took us, and you know, here we are now. So thank you guys so much. We're going to spend the next hour and a half going over your guys' questions. If you want to send them to us live in chat right now, we also have a list that I've pulled from Discord and Twitter from those who've sent it to us. But, you know, enough of me talking. We're going to do introductions again. So Aaron, hope you remembered exactly what you just said when the volume wasn't working. Aaron, let's kick it over to you. Why don't you tell us who you are, what you do for the channel, and who's your favorite Pokemon?
Alright, so my name's Aaron. I'm the editor. I edit the videos. I help Nick create content. You know, we work together. We're a two-piece. Other than that, I also manage the YouTube channel. So if you've gotten a comment, reply on there. That was me. I'll also be managing our Discord going forward as that opens up. Outside of that, my favorite Pokemon is Espeon. Mostly because he was my main guy in Colosseum. He took down everybody with ease. So, yeah, that's me.
All right, go Espeon. Alex, we'll kick it to you next.
Thanks, Nick. Hey, everyone. Name is Alex Eisman, and I make the music for the channel. I'm just going to go ahead and put up a brief disclaimer here real quick that my role in the channel is a bit minimal. I'm not a current Pokemon TCG enthusiast like Aaron and Nick, but I did play the game when I was much younger, and I'm still very fond of the channel's content because of how much nostalgia it brings up, and I can see how much it resonates with everybody. I think that my favorite Pokemon is probably Raichu. I couldn't tell you why. It probably had something to do with the anime that I watched religiously as a child. And the whole arc with Pikachu and Ash not wanting to evolve him. So yeah, you guys go, and I guess we'll kick it over to Nick then.
You said, "Darn it, Pikachu, touch the Thunderstone."
That's what I was saying.
All right, thanks, Alex. Yeah, so my name's Nick. I do the research, the writing, and you probably recognize the voice for the channel. And my favorite Pokemon is, I'm going to have to go with maybe a normie pick. I really like Swampert, which actually, I still have my original Swampert from my Ruby game. That was my first game, and I think he's on my ORAS game on one of those files now. But so he's been around for quite a while, which actually I think is a good segue into our first question. Which someone over, I believe, either on YouTube or Twitter, asked, why Groudon? That is going to be Levi McGlinchey, asked why Groudon? And then also, do we have a favorite or least favorite Groudon card? And so I'm going to start with that one and just say, you know, Groudon, the reason we are called Ruby Retro, the reason we have the Groudon logo is I initially just made a Twitter account because I wanted to share my old Pokemon decks with people. And Ruby was my first game ever as a kid. And so for me, like, that was where the nostalgia lived, and that was where my mind went to for the name. So Ruby Retro, and then originally had like a really fuzzy Groudon picture as the profile. And Aaron, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about how, you know, you designed and drew the Groudons that we use.
Not much to talk about. I hate Groudon's design. It's really cool, but it sucks to draw. It's so many angles and lines, and he's like a 3D shape, so it's hard to draw him flat. Which is why it took 3 videos before we actually finished the version of him you've seen in the last 2. But yeah, no, he's definitely a rad Pokemon, and Kyogre can eat rocks.
do you have a favorite or a least favorite Groudon card? I know the one I always think of is the EX one that we have featured and animated in the intro, but is there one that you really like?
Yeah, so my favorite artist is Koki Saito, and they've done 2 Groudon cards, I believe. There's one in particular, though, where he's like, ah! And that's probably my favorite one.
I feel like he's doing that in a lot of the Groudon.
But he's only doing it in one Koki Saito art.
Okay. Alex, do you have a favorite Groudon? Did you get a chance to look at any of the art?
I did cycle through them. I mean, I think I'm gonna have to default to the one that we use in the opening. I mean, I think that one, it just looks great. I really like the angle. I like the flames in the background. I mean, I think it's a good looking card.
That's why we went with it, because that was the one that Aaron could easily animate, and the flames just kind of played right in. We tried using Team Magma's Groudon, but that thing is at such an awkward angle to try to do anything with. It's kind of like coming from the side. Okay, so what? Let's see here. Our next question comes from.
Real quick, just to address some of the chat. Thanks for all the compliments everyone's given out. John, I cannot blow Nick a kiss because he is remote, but I will be sure to kiss him and send you a picture later.
Aaron, just look up and blow a kiss. In the stream, it will look as though you're blowing him a kiss.
Alright.
My girlfriend's gonna say, "What are you guys doing over there?"
And then for UPB, they said, yes, the famous RAR Groudon art. I agree. I agree. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, so our next question is what inspired us to make the videos we do. So as I can't find who submitted the question, but like they asked about like as far as doing like making the video, the formatting, if there's any particular video that that inspired us. I know for me, and Aaron's probably tired of me showing this guy's videos to him, but last summer when we were kicking around the idea of doing this, I don't know if anyone's familiar with the Janjo Zone. He does Yu-Gi-Oh content, and he does historical Yu-Gi-Oh meta-analysis, kind of like we do. And I saw his video, and then I saw Ruben Dale's The History of Yu-Gi-Oh, which is like a 2-hour documentary, which is insanely good, if you guys haven't checked it out yet. Sorry. Where was I going? Yeah, so really it was Janjo who inspired at least me to want to talk to Aaron about maybe we could do this, or even asking Aaron if he thought it was a good idea. And then Aaron was like, well, I could edit that for you if you write it. And the rest is history.
Yep, to add to that, first off, how dare you? Janjo's the best and I love him. Why would I ever get sick of you recommending his videos? Second,
I made you sit through so many.
This is also technically a 5-year-old channel that used to be called Ear Splitting Magic that we tried to launch a long time ago, and then all the people involved basically didn't exist near each other anymore, so we couldn't. So kind of that was also a basis as to, you know, how it started and where. But yeah. Just wanted to add.
I was gonna say I could probably just chime in real quick with kind of how I got involved with it, and I was hanging out with Aaron one night. Aaron and I have been friends since high school, so going on 10 years, well, probably more than 10 years at this point. But he asked me to, one of our pastimes is we sit around and make music together. We usually make ridiculous rap songs that are not family friendly, so we cannot feature them here, unfortunately. But he asked me to start working on a theme song for a YouTube project he was planning on reviving, and yeah, we made the Ruby Retro theme song, and then a few months passed, and then he reached out to me later. He was like, the channel's first video essay has gotten a surprisingly great reception. So we started talking some more, and then that's when I agreed to help with some music. So that's kind of how that happened for me to get involved in on that piece.
Yeah, and I just wanted to throw in there about Ear Splitting Magic. What was so funny about that one was that was going to be a channel devoted entirely to just like retro gameplay, and we didn't even have the series to do like the docu-series kind of format that we do now. I don't even think anyone was doing those really when we were even working on that channel.
I don't think so.
I think that's been a pretty new phenomenon. So it's funny how everything's kind of come full circle, and now we're able to work on this pretty remote. So let's see here. In chat, Jacob Gilbert asked which one of the Wizards of the Coast era sets is your favorite and why. Aaron, do you have a favorite WotC era set?
Yes. My favorite Wizards art, because it's probably going to come up later as well, is Dark Golduck, because he's shooting a sick laser beam across the ocean.
So is that so Team Rocket's your favorite set then?
Yes. Yeah, I'd say so. At least as far as when I think of nostalgia of my childhood, those were all my favorite cards. But I also didn't play then.
Yeah. Alex, do you have a favorite set that you remember cracking a lot?
I'm trying to think back, and I can't recall whether it was. I mean, I just think the original base set was where I really was in, but I don't even know if that is a Wizards of the Coast one or not. I remember buying a lot of cards, going to card shops with my dad. Yeah, I would probably say just the original base set.
I guess I could be pulling up these artworks, huh?
Come on, Aaron.
Please, Aaron.
Listen.
Yeah, base set is though a Wizards era set, Alex. So you're right on the money there. I think for me, my favorite is I'm gonna go with Neo Discovery. I got into the cards in mid 2001, so that was during the Neo era. And I just remember it being super difficult to find a lot of the Neo sets at the time. Like, I remember cracking tons of like base set 2 and Jungle, but I don't really remember opening a ton of the Neo era stuff. And I went to Target the one day and they just had a couple like Neo packs out, and I bought one. And I actually pulled Neo Discovery Espeon out of the one. I don't know what happened to the card. I don't think I have it anymore. But I just very vividly remember having 2 packs, and the first pack was nothing, and then the second pack there was just this Espeon in there.
Beautiful.
All right. So, where do we find the history to make the videos that we do? So maybe, Aaron, while you're messing with the visuals, I can talk about the research aspect, and you can tag in on, I guess, where you find the stuff that you use for the editing. As far as the research aspect, if anyone's familiar with, I think we've mentioned Pojo in almost every video that we've made now. They, along with, so there's a website called PokePlayer, and then Pokemon, Pokumon. Those 3 websites are absolutely fantastic. What's really nice about Pojo is that was the original Pokemon forum almost, where you would just email in what was called a killer deck report, and they would just post a bunch of them every month. And so that's where we found a lot of tournament results, or we're able to take the lists from the Super Trainer Showdowns and be oh yeah, this crazy thing happened during their top 8 match or something, is because we found the reports and we're able to talk about that. Aaron, do you want to talk a little bit from the visual side of things?
Yeah, so as far as resources, mostly I just Google search. A lot of times I'll end up going through Web Archive to Japanese sites to get stuff. As far as the card scans, though, I get all of those from a site called PokemonCards.com, spelled PKMN Cards.com, where they, I'm pretty sure, have a complete, if not nearly complete, repertoire of every Pokemon card, scanned in a really high quality. Outside of that, anything you see was probably pulled off Google.
And we get the deck list images from a website called PokeGear. That's Jacob Gearhart's website that he put together to make deck lists on, and we found that one to just be it's the most functionally easy to use, and it gives the nicest import or exports when you download the file pick.
Yep. And then from there I just kind of chop out the background image and use it in the video.
Yeah. Awesome. So Aaron, if you have the cards queued up, why don't we talk about what's your favorite card art from the original sets? So basically any of the sets we made a video on, fair game. What's your favorite art from those?
All right, so I kind of already mentioned it, but yeah, Dark Golduck, who I am looking for now. There he is.
Yeah, Team Rocket Uncommon, I believe.
Oop, Team Rocket, but they're in alphabetical order, which is why I was having issues finding them. All right, there we go.
There are too many darks in that set.
Yeah. All right, so there's good old Dark Golduck. Mostly I dislike him because he's on the ocean. He's shooting this laser beam, which has this immense power, and it's like splitting the ocean, and it looks so cool. And Golduck is so lame.
Poor
yeah.
Golduck.
Yeah. He got a bad
Alex,
rap
what
as
about you?
I'd have to say it's a toss-up between the original base set foil Raichu, Ninetales, and Charizard, mainly because I just have memories of, getting. I remember, like I said earlier, going to a card shop with my dad and picking out the Charizard because I think it was the most expensive one in the shop or something at the time. I could be wrong, but yeah, something about those holographic cards when I was a kid, it always blew me away. I have really fond memories of like. I would be looking at them, and I remember I asked my mom to go to the dollar store once and buy some index cards and like glitter pens, so I could make my own cards with holographic backgrounds like that. But yeah, I don't know. I just really love them.
That's awesome. Yeah, so my favorite is going to be Persian from the Jungle set. Maybe an unpopular pick. I'm a big cat person. You can see my cat. If you can see the orange fluff behind us, that is Vinny. And so not only do I love Persian because he's a cat, but I also just really like the different colors of that artwork. And I think that's one too that the artist she did a comic, right, of how like they became a Pokemon card, and so that was Giovanni's Persian, basically, that he found as a kid. So, the more you know. Let's see, in chat we have a question from Philip, who says, was I the only kid who bought a box of Japanese cards having no idea what they said? Well, Philip, no. My girlfriend and I had a discussion earlier today about why Aaron and I have such a huge chunk of our old decks that are in Japanese. And honestly, a lot of that is because they're cheaper and the card stock is better, I think. I don't know, did you guys ever have any experience with Japanese cards as a kid?
Yeah, I actually want to say wherever my parents were sourcing cards from, when I did get them, they were almost always foreign, whether that be Japanese, French, German. I had very few English cards unless I bought them myself.
You said HP. I thought this was PV.
I thought it was KP.
Alex, what about you? I see you commenting in the chat, but...
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the extent of it. I do think that I had a few cards that weren't really cards. I don't know if you guys remember those, like, stickers that you could buy that looked like Pokemon cards.
Yeah.
I know I had quite a few of those. Those were in different languages and stuff, but... yeah, I remember my grandma bought me that Tropical Island set, and I thought it was so cool that it was in a different language at the time. I was like, oh my gosh, that's a really... Yeah, I think that's probably the extent of it, though, for me.
Yeah, I think Southern Islands was the translation for that one. Oh,
okay.
That's really beautiful. They took, like, gigantic postcards, basically, and just, like, divvied them up into the cards.
Yeah.
I think I have a set of them somewhere, but they've probably been like split up or put into decks. I actually lost to, I almost lost to one playing the Executor one, the card on TCG1 this morning, and that art's really funny because it's like an Executor just like walking in line down the beach.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Another question from the chat. Let's see here. As visual creators, is it hard to integrate all the visual material, videos and pictures that are actually missing from reports of the time with other content? I believe that was a Aaron-directed question.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's mostly
I try to give you what I can.
Yeah. Nick helps a lot. he just throws me all these great resources and pictures he comes across, which usually do the trick, but when they don't, it's just putting a bunch of things in place until something works for me. I am a little bit of a personal perfectionist, so at some point I do have to tell myself to stop and just leave it be. Or else, you know, we'd never have any videos, because I'd still be working on the first one now.
Well, the first one did take a while, but I think that had
That's
more
true.
to do with how do we want it to look. And I feel bad, Aaron, because a lot of the resources I send you pictures are like not very good quality. They're so low resolution.
Yeah, but they give me a picture I can then backtrack and find a better version of, or redraw in some cases.
Right. I see Matoba Design is in chat. I know he sent us a question on Twitter wanting to know what topic maybe interests us the most, but there might not be enough out there to get a full-length video on. Which I think is a really good question, because I think there's so much history in the game.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the details from particularly the early to mid 2000s are lacking.
This is true. The internet was a young lad.
I'm gonna go with what you guys think. I'm gonna go with there were in 2003 when Wizards of the Coast lost the license to make the Pokemon cards and Nintendo took it over. There were these fan appreciation tournaments that was basically like Wizards were like, okay, we have these warehouses of cards that we don't want to just light on fire. How about we just give them away and ruin the market? And so they had these gigantic tournaments where they would just give like 6 cases if you won, right? Just like obscene amounts of prize cards. But there was a really big tournament at Gen Con that year that Jason Kwasinski won with a Scizor Muck Brit deck, I think. And that's the only list we have from that event. Mm-hmm. And there was also like a team event, like an early version of like the double battles from Ruby and Sapphire that took place at the event the day before. And we just, because like no one was really playing anymore and thought the game was ending, we don't have a ton of information on that event. So I think that would be really cool if, you know, we could ever get enough information together to make a video about that.
Yeah, I feel like we would just have to get a bunch of personal testimonials.
Right, it's hard to track down a lot of those people. Like, that was 20 years ago.
Right.
I know, though, I do know one story from the event is there's a player, Jim Farrell, who he and, like, Chris Fulop did really well at the team event. And they came back with enough product that Jim was able to sell some of it to put a down payment on his first car.
Oh, wow.
If that tells you anything. I don't know, do you guys have any topics that, you know, you think would make good videos, but we just don't have enough resources to make them?
Nothing that comes to my mind. All the videos I want to make are very makeable. So...
Well, what are the videos you want to make, Aaron? Maybe give a little teaser for the people.
At some point, I will be making and writing a video about the Pokemon Adventures manga, where Team Rocket plays a much larger role in things, and it's very brutal, and they just kill Pokemon. Kinda.
Family friendly.
Yeah, family friendly. I mean, it's rated like age 10 plus.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I like the manga a lot. At some point I do want to cover it. And then beyond that, obviously we want to cover the trading card game video games, which I'm excited to get to at some point in the future as well.
I did find out that, because someone messaged me on Discord the other day, that Imposter Oak is a character in the manga, that he pops up at some point. Mm-hmm. And so... You know, I honestly thought he was just a trading card game character until that point.
Yep. Nope.
So that was interesting to me.
Yeah, all of the characters in the trading card game that weren't in the games or the anime were intended for the manga. So there's him. The way Mr. Fuji exists in the trading card game was based on the manga. Blaine was originally based out of the manga, but kind of got readapted. But yeah, no, it's a fun time.
Alex, is there anything that you'd like to see us make?
Actually, I'm interested. This is the first time hearing about you guys doing any content related to the Pokemon TCG video games. I owned that video game when I was young. I remember playing it a lot. That was an amazing game, or at least the first one, the original one. So yeah, I definitely vote for that one soon. I'm interested to hear history around that one.
I think it'd be fun to take a look at the Japanese game that came out. They had a sequel that had the Team Rocket cards in it. And I think it'd be interesting to see how they implemented like a Rocket Sneak Attack or something. You know, because like you have to have the interface where you get to look at your opponent's hand and see those cards.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I mean, someone made an official translation patch for that second game, right?
Oh, did they? Oh,
or not an official one.
Makes our life easier.
Like a complete one.
Okay. Awesome. Well, we have a few questions in chat. Let's take a look at. Asmata and UPB both have questions about Standard right now. So Asmata wants to know, do we still play and collect the TCG?
Yes.
You know, yeah. Aaron and I both, I mean, I primarily do retro. Aaron, I think you do more of the Standard stuff now,
yes.
right? Because you go to League again.
Yep. Now that League's finally back after a 2-year hiatus.
What's your favorite deck right now that you've been playing with?
So the one I've been having the most fun playing with is probably Lost Box. I mean, it's a meta deck, but it's one of those resource management type decks, so it's just real fun to keep up with. Plus, at least in Pokemon Trading Card Game Live, everyone seems to be playing the Electric V deck, which is just Regieleki, Raikou, and other stuff. Flaffy as well for Dynamotor. And I basically auto-win against that as long as I don't prize 3 Comfey and or 2 Sableye, which has happened twice.
I believe it. You do have some of the worst luck in the TCG of anyone I've ever seen sometimes, Aaron.
Those are the facts.
Strangely not on like Neo baby flips. It seems like anything in the Neo era, you're just like, oh look, another head.
That's true. That Hail Mary Fury swipes with Totodile to win the game.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty par for the course for you in Neo, but yeah, definitely. If we ever get around to making gameplay videos again, I know when we were first trying to record them, part of the issue was not only bad like camera quality, figuring that out, but also we just had a lot of unplayable matches where like Aaron would draw his hand and we would just be like, all right, reset, and we'd do it again and you'd draw another hand and it would still be unplayable.
Yep.
Awesome. Maybe Alex, maybe we can get you out sometime to play a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to.
Great. And then we had another question come in from Matoba Design asking, what cards are your chase cards? So I think that I really like chasing after the competitive ones for our old decks. Like Holland Transceiver was one for a while. We went on a spree where like Aaron and our mutual friend Lance, like we were just buying Cleffa from Neo Genesis nonstop. Like, we would go to League once a week and be like, all right, how many Cleffa did you bring in this week? I don't know, Aaron, do you have any in particular that you collect? I know you have some different evolutions around your room.
Yeah, so I do have every Espeon card printed to date, except Star, which I had at one point a long time ago, and I'm pretty sure I traded it for like a Walrein. Which is a little regrettable, but I was a child. Outside of that,
I traded a Shining Charizard for like a Celebi when I was a kid.
Oh, legend. Outside of that, I don't really dabble much in card collecting or valuables. I basically just get what I need to play with. So I wouldn't say I really have much in the way of chase cards. But if I could ever get an Espeon Star, without spending money on it, yeah, that'd be sick. But I doubt it.
Right. Awesome. So, oh, we actually have a question in chat that I think segues really, really well into our next question. Since Aaron, you and I have played a ton of formats over the past few years. So which of the various retro formats are we most interested in playing right now? Do you think like organized play could ever integrate in retro formats with existing ones? And then I know our question in the document is just like which ones do we enjoy playing the most or not so much. So I know for me personally, I've been on like a pretty big like 2008 or like base Fauna Solitaire. If you want to throw Lickitung up on the screen, the absolute terror that it is.
You betcha.
But I think as far as like least favorite ones, I get really annoyed with.
Oh, apologies for the noise. One sec.
No, you're good. I get really annoyed with Base to Neo and Team Rocket On. Just like the baby flips really get to me sometimes. I think, especially Crobat from Neo Revelation. That card is so bad, but it's the only thing that can hit for Alligator for weakness, but you have to flip 4 coins to attack with it. And the amount of times I have hit like 4 tails despite needing like 1 heads is way too high. What do you think, Aaron? Which ones, which format do you feel like playing right now? What ones are your favorite versus not?
So I don't know if it's just because it's the one we've played the most, but I feel like 2004 screams out to me as one of my favorites to go back and play. I'm also really fond of 2009. And 04 in particular, I don't like Magma, which is ironic, but I do like every other deck we have in that format. I just think it's pretty balanced and fun to play.
You tend to draw really bad with the Magma.
Yeah, I know. That's why I don't like it. It's a good deck. I just can't play it because I have the worst luck with it.
It's really strange too. Like he'll hand me the Magma deck, and I'll immediately just draw like a broken hand with it. And he'll have like another deck with like a Dunsparce start, and it'll be fine then. But it's just like, why did it take doing that?
And then 09, we just have a lot of wacky decks. Shuppet Dunk's really fun to try to get off.
Yeah. What is there an era that like you think that like every time I say like, hey, can we play this era, that you're just like, can you not?
I don't think so. Even I would say Neo's definitely the worst with the flips, but even when we play it, I still have fun. So I don't know.
He's just like seeing you go like, how do you get 4 tails?
Cause I flip okay in Neo, so it's not the worst for me, but it is just unengaging gameplay.
Yeah, I feel like that's true in a lot of ways, which I mean we'll be getting to soon, anyways. Little spoiler: I finished recording the Neo script this week, actually. So we have stuff in the works.
That we do.
All right. So let's here. This one will apply to all of us in chat. Matcha Snack, sorry if I'm butchering your name, asked about Pokemon Trading Card Game Classic. So we saw that in Pokemon Presents. I mean, obviously, like, I got pretty excited seeing it. How do you guys feel about it? How do you think, if they want to continue it or like make it better, like what should they do? Alex, do you want to start on Pokemon Classic? Do you have any thoughts on that?
That is a tough question. I mean, so much of it is just tied up in nostalgia for me personally because I'm not a current player of the game. So like, it would be weird to see it in today's context. I don't know. The like all the card arts, everything from that era was just like so much from that era. So like, I don't know that it would be. I don't know what a good way to revitalize it would be. That's a really good question. Do you have any ideas, Aaron?
Well, I'm initially worried about how they're launching it, it's really expensive, which I don't think is good for them potentially developing it going forward. Expensive card games are just never good for a community. But yeah, I mean, I would see no issue with basically just doing what they did the first time back in 1999, except this time fix or cut the busted cards and make it a little more balanced. You know,
Bill,
we don't
Bill.
make Bill a supporter.
Ugh.
But
Yeah, and someone put in chat one of my initial worries about it. Osmata said about the inclusion of the new EX cards in the deck, that they're trying to update it, and they have tool cards that give your starter Pokemon more HP or damage buffs and that to try to keep them up. I think from a power level standpoint, I think they're trying to balance, but I think just power creep has gotten so out of control over 20 years that the fact that they're having to print that kind of thing is kind of telling.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, so I kind of wish that Pokemon would give us more of a true competitive retro scene, how Yu-Gi-Oh has Edison format right now, where it has the different Time Wizard formats that are sponsored by Organized Play. And what I think Yu-Gi-Oh's done a really good job of that Magic and Pokemon probably need to learn a little bit from is that they've reprinted old sets and they're special edition, but they look exactly like the cards. And so I know since Pokemon's such a collector-driven game, that if they wanted to put a disclaimer on it or something or make them different somehow, I would love to be able to go get an original base set or something. And even if it has a mark on it that says not legal for tournament play at the bottom or whatever, to differentiate it, great. They're still gonna go in our old decks. And I think that could be a good way to kind of avoid some of the potential issues with if they were oh, we're gonna do a competitive 2010 tournament scene, okay, now Pokemon Collector's a $30 card.
Mm-hmm.
But bringing it back to Pokemon Classic, yeah, I think it's a step in the right direction. I just wish that they weren't so bent on we need to include the EXs in here. I think they could have just completely sidestepped that and it would have been fine. I think your dog agrees with me, Aaron. Alrighty. Yes, Osmata brings up a good point in the chat too. They don't think Classic will be a thing, but they do need something else, right? Because Expanded's dead, and I don't think I think Gym Leader Challenge is fun, but I don't think that's going to fill the void if people truly want an alternative format, just because of the limitations that are imposed on it. Also, some of those cards are expensive.
Yeah, no kidding.
Optimal Ivysaur's almost $10. I dug those out of my bulk to sell. Awesome. So I think that is a good way to segue into a question we have about retro prices and how Aaron, we had gotten into retro in 2016, which was really before the boom of retro in 2018 when all the prices really took off and skyrocketed.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess what, as far as where we're at today, a lot of the prices still remain elevated. Do you have any thoughts or concerns as for collectors or players, or even just there being such a high bar for people trying to get into retro the way that you and I are?
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. It's kind of a dependent, it's dependent on what people value those cards as, and right now they value them very highly. Luckily, it's not a legal scene, so you can always just print the cards if you really want to play with physical cards, which I definitely recommend. Even if you just want to try getting into retro, print them first, make sure it's for you, and then if you want to buy them for collection reasons, you can, but you don't need to.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think there's some formats that play very differently than what you might think they play. And so I wouldn't say you should go drop a bunch of money and build 2008, because it's really infuriating to play if you're not used to it because of how different it is. But you know, I also like don't advocate for you to go spend like $15 on a home transceiver or something. Or did you know the world's versions are like almost $10 now?
Oh yeah, even the world's cards are expensive. It's ridiculous.
Which is crazy because like I can remember when you guys were sorting bulk and just like would literally be handing me stacks of world's cards and being like, oh yeah, no one wants these. Like, here you go, Nick. And so now we have this giant collection of all these cards that are like apparently worth money now that just weren't before. Well, there's also TCG1 too, which I think is great for people to go on and play. The Diamond and Pearl cards aren't completely implemented on there because I'm not sure how they are going to implement Power Spray. And I'll warn you that there are like some things that are bugged on there, like Blaziken or any of the cards that like accelerate energies from the discard pile, like Dynamotor style. They can attach any energy that fits the bill. So like Blaziken can attach double rainbow energies because it sees it as a fire target and is like, I want that. So some people can like try to cheese you on there if they know about that. But it's still like a good way to just kind of like get your feet wet in a lot of different formats that you might not have access to otherwise. Let's talk about power creep. I think we kind of alluded to it a little bit. Maybe, Alex, have you had a chance to see like what any of the new Pokemon cards look like? I think this would be a good question for you.
Yeah, I've definitely seen a couple of them. Being with Aaron, I've seen a couple of them. Like the tag team Raichu one for sure.
Yeah. Okay. I guess like what is your reaction when you see that? Like we saw the base set Raichu that you really like. Now there's a Lickitung up on the screen that does 10 damage. That is busted by that format standards. What do you think as far as like you see the game then and then you see like this 260 HP Pokemon?
Yeah, that was pretty mind-blowing. I mean, Aaron kind of, talked me through it. Like, I mean, while it is a broken card, it also has, you also lose your three prize cards if you defeat it. Or, sorry, you know what I mean. So it costs you to play it at the same time. Like, it's a risk to play it, but it is. Yeah, it was kind of a big surprise to see that things have like grown to that level and elevated to that level. I think it's definitely evident that there's power creep in the game.
Yeah. Aaron, do you have any thoughts on power creep?
Yeah, like all card games, Pokemon is also not immune to power creep. Every set it seems like there's just more and more ways they're breaking it. The big HP, big damage thing, I don't think matters that much because Pokemon rotates their formats, so like it's always balanced in that regard. It's just you have to have more damage counters, which why not just keep them low? But I also get it, I guess. But like some of the attacks are getting ridiculous sometimes. Like bringing up that same Raichu tag team, isn't that the one that like paralyzes guaranteed with his one attack?
Yeah, if it moves up from your bench.
Yeah, I
think that's what you're telling me, Aaron. Yeah.
I do know that, and I would encourage anyone who's interested in power creep. Celio's Network has a really good video from a couple years ago talking about it. Basically, and I think his video came out around the time the Urshifus came out, and just talking about how crazy, the VMAXs were in comparison to like where we started with Blastoise and Lickitung and whatever. But yeah, I do agree with you, Aaron. I think that like because of the way the damage moves, that a lot of it is just we need more damage counters. But I also think that you're right that they're like trying to outdo themselves on some of the attackers to sell cards because like no one would buy the cards as quickly as they wanted them to if there were perceived like bad sets. I know because I can remember even like Call of Legends was considered a bad set when it released and no one bought it because the power level was too low. So like it is a very real thing, and I know that like their concern, the designer's concern is like Diamond and Pearl was like the pinnacle of complicated game design because as they were trying to like keep the power level kind of around the same thing that they thought that they had to keep like reprinting these really complicated effects on cards to make them just like a titch stronger than the other ones. And I think that that's just kind of been taken to the extreme in some cases. But I also think it's just them being lazy in some others and just saying, well, if we just up the damage, people will buy them. Instead of like, you know, like we don't need a Psychic Lock Gardevoir in every format, but, you know, I feel like you just reprint some things that have rotated out that have like very similar power levels and it can kind of be maintained in that way. But what do I know? Pokemon makes millions every year, or billions, and I am a poor law student. All right. So, do you guys play any other trading card games?
Absolutely. I actively play Final Fantasy. I, on occasion, will also play One Piece, Dragon Ball Super. Those are both fairly similar and very fun, very fast-paced games.
One Piece has been taken off. I've noticed a lot of like, I think like Rahul Reddy, Michael Pramawat, they both tweet about them playing that a lot instead of Pokemon.
Yeah, I think it's going to die quicker than it should because they're not printing enough cards, so the prices are outrageous. And I've seen a bunch of players drop off already.
Didn't that happen with what is it, Flesh and Blood? They had that issue, and then like it seemed like they were able to kind of find a balance. So maybe One Piece can do that.
I'm hoping, but we'll see. And then obviously Yu-Gi-Oh! I do play. I don't tend to play Modern so much just because I don't enjoy picking a one-turn game and just seeing, you know, who gets the better first turn.
But Aaron, Tier Lament is the pinnacle of Yu-Gi-Oh! Just ask MVP.
I definitely like playing GOAT format though, and even our friend Lance has a cube where we sort of have stuff from all eras of Yu-Gi-Oh! And we play it in a mutant format where everything is every type, and that's fun because everything is useful again, and it's not a one-turn thing. You kind of got to play the game. But yeah.
Did you balance that? Because I know you said the first time you guys drafted that, it was pretty chaotic.
Yeah, so it's still chaotic. The way we make sure nothing is broken is by making sure everything is broken.
Yeah, I mean, that is the one way to do it, that's for sure.
So it's just, you have all these big effects, and it feels like it's a lot, but it's really not.
Yeah. Okay, I mean, fair enough. Alex, did you play any other trading card games other than Pokemon?
When I was younger, yeah. I mean, when I was younger, I did collect some Yu-Gi-Oh cards and Magic the Gathering cards. You know, I don't currently play any card games at the moment. But yeah, those were two of my favorites when I was younger. So yeah.
Yeah, I know. I was a big Yu-Gi-Oh guy back in the day, and I really, obviously, you know, I still watch a fair amount of Yu-Gi-Oh content from us getting the inspiration for this channel. I actually send Aaron a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh videos that I think have good editing or like good script, and I'm like, we could do something like this. But I actually played Magic the Gathering back in college during my freshman year. I went to a couple of tournaments with my RA. If anyone is familiar with Magic, I went to like a Cons of Tarkir pre-release. I played this like really weird combo deck that was fun, that it basically just like turn 3, if you got everything, you would just get this endless loop that would consist of you untapping this artifact that you would keep tapping to mill your opponent for 1. And so, like, every time you played a card, it would untap. And so you had this, like, it would untap and it would bounce something. So you had this, like, 0-cost artifact that you would cast, and then it would, like, tap it. And it was pretty fun. But that's not something that, like, I kept up with at all.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a really good game. I didn't get super into it. It was literally like maybe one summer when I had purchased a lot of cards and was collecting them and playing them. Mostly it came from like my older brother. He's like 9 years older than me, but he was playing the game like when I was very, very young. And I remember looking at his cards and thinking they were really cool. So that's why I kind of dove into it a little bit there. But it wasn't long-lived.
Oh, and I guess I did play Yu-Gi-Oh! For a hot minute. I played online on, what was that, Dual Book or something? And I played during Dragon Ruler format, because I thought Dragon Ruler format was really cool. And then they banned all the Dragon Rulers, and I was like, well, I'm not interested in this anymore. Do you guys play any dead TCGs? I can remember, like, I used to have some Harry Potter cards lying around.
I had 2 or 3 Harry Potter starter decks, and I don't think I ever opened them.
Yeah, I had some of those too.
And I bet they are chilling somewhere in a storage unit. Probably.
Those are worth money now, apparently.
I'm sure the ones I have are heavily warped and smoke damaged from my parents.
You gotta there's a trick like you can do with like a dryer sheet, I think.
For smoke damage?
Yeah, it takes the smell out at least.
They're still gonna be like yellow though. I guess they were already kind of yellow by default.
I won't tell anybody if you don't. You know what's funny about that game is, and I found this out because there's a Pokemon player named Tom Dozel who used to play Harry Potter and was like one of the #1 ranked in the world in the game at one point. That and if I'm remembering it correctly, Harry Potter, like, you didn't have a life total, or like Pokemon, you have like prize cards. Instead, your life was your deck, and so basically like you would just try to mill the other person. And like that was how you won games. And so like when you would attack, like you would just mill however many cards based on the damage the attack did. So it was like Durant on steroids for everything.
Other dead card games I played, there was, what was it called? Duel Masters, which I think is still a thing in Japan today.
Is it?
I think, or at least it was when I heard about that like 6 years ago. I was like, oh, it still exists in Japan. And I was like, oh.
Is that the one that had like the gears? I remember there was a card game that had like gears on the bottom of it or something.
Yep, that was Duel Masters.
I did have that one. I did have a few of those. Yeah.
That one was alright, and then I actually really enjoyed the Naruto card game, which died off pretty quickly as well. I mean, I guess it went for like 7 or 8 years, but basically you built like a team of... If you think about like an active Pokemon, you basically had 3, one being a leader, and then your like squad members. And that was an interesting game, but yeah, that's about it. I got nothing else to add.
Similarly to the Naruto card game, there was the Dragon Ball Z TCG. I had quite a few of those cards too.
Oh, like the original?
Yeah, the one that had like the power levels on the right sides of the card. Do you guys remember those? It was like all the power levels were like stacked on top of each other. I don't know. I'd have to find probably a screenshot if you don't remember it. But yeah, I remember that one. I collected those. I never really like played the game, but I collected a lot of those ones. I think that one was dead.
I think that was a lot of like the non big 3 of card games. You just kind of had the kid, and you're like, oh, this could be like Pokemon opens it. It's interesting.
Actually, wasn't there a Sailor Moon card game as well? I remember having some Sailor Moon cards as a kid.
Honestly, like, they were making everything into card games back then, man. Like they made Operation Desert Storm, the trading card game, in the early 90s.
Yes. Real world conflicts.
They had like presidential candidate cards. Like for a while, my GX counter, I had it like, it said GX on the back, and then when I would flip it, it was just like this picture of Hillary Clinton from 2008. And I just like wouldn't say anything, keep playing the game. So I'd just be like, okay, like whatever, like Bolt Strike GX or whatever the Zekrom Pikachu's attack was, and I just flip over the Hillary Clinton.
Somebody in the chat said Neopets. I think I had a few of those too.
Oh yeah, there was Neopet cards.
Yeah, there was. Yeah.
Oh, I got those in like the McDonald's.
Yeah, same.
Okay. Someone said about Duel Master, still very much a top 5 game in Japan.
Oh,
so
wow.
There you go, Aaron.
It sounds like I need to accelerate my Japanese learning and go get some cards.
Right. All right. Let's see. We had a couple other questions that we got snuck in on Twitter. So, how did you? So, I think Alex kind of alluded to this. How did we get started or interested in the Pokemon trading card game? What's your? I guess like what's your first like memory with it?
That is.
I know for me, like, I remember going to, like, my friend's house on a snow day, and he's like, oh, have you ever heard of Pokemon? And this was, like, 2001 or something-ish. 2002. And he like pulled out, and like the first card I like vividly remember was a Neo Revelation Skiploom, and like a Neo Revelation like Chin Chow or something. And he was just like, yeah, like these are my extras, you can have them. Which like looking back, those cards were horrible. But it's just like very funny that like Neo Revelation, like Neo Discovery, like those all hold a really special place in my heart because those were some of like the first cards I remember having as a kid.
Yeah, so I was like 5 or 6 when the card game came around. I don't remember like it happening. I only remember it was everything for everyone, always. As soon as it existed, it was already like this monumental beast of a product. I mean, I definitely have lots of memories of Pokemon cards, but my first one, no idea.
Yeah.
No idea.
Alex,
I don't think I could tell you my first memory. It might be that one going to that card shop with my dad to buy that Charizard. It might be. I can tell you the silliest memory I have. This would embarrass my brother if he were watching the video, but I don't think he is, unless he's hiding out there. But he's 9 years older than me, right? So, you know, I was like his little kid brother. He'd wrestle all the time with me. One time we were wrestling and he accidentally like pile drived me, and I like got destroyed, and I was crying and throwing a big old tantrum. And he bribed me. He's like, I'll give you this. He had the Electabuzz from the movie, like the cool Electabuzz. It was like in that cool stance. It wasn't like the original cardboard cutout Electabuzz. He was like leaning forward. It had the little movie star on the side. And he gave that to me. He's like, please don't get me in trouble. I didn't mean to hurt you, dude. And he gave me that. I remember.
Those promos were like currency back then, man. Because like no one knew how like to get them. They were super common, but everyone was like, "Oh my gosh! Like you have the special delivery Dragonite!" Like,
yeah, it was. Yeah, that's how it was. Yeah, they were common, but it was like because you were a little kid. It's like, how do I get that? You didn't have the means. Yeah.
Does anyone know if it was supposed to be random or if you were supposed to get specific? Like, were you supposed to get all of them or just a specific one when going to the movie?
I think you got a random one.
I think it was random too,
I thought it was. I went to the movie as a kid, and I got all 4, like, on my only visit to the movie.
I went to the movie. I think I only got 1.
Yeah, and I remember other friends telling me that they had only gotten 1, and I was like, I don't know, they gave me all 4.
They might have just had like a stack back there. They're like, here you go, kid.
Yeah, maybe.
What's funny about those is like 3 of them were just trash, right? Like in competitive play, like what's funny is that Electabuzz, it looks so much cooler than the base set one, but it was so much worse. Because it couldn't paralyze and like it had less HP. The Pikachu was bad. The Dragonite was like terrible because its attack was flip a coin of tails, like it does no damage.
What about
the Mewtwo?
The Mewtwo, yeah.
The Mewtwo was stacked. That card, they were just like, all right, here you go. Like if you got one of those at the movie and showed up the next week at your local card shop, you're gonna be running through noobs with that card. Like, how do you stop
How
that?
did you get the Mew? I know the Mew wasn't like an official card, but what the ancient Mew? How did you get that? Wasn't that from the movie too?
That was from 2000.
That was from the
That's
that
right.
was from
That's
the
right.
Power of 3 one.
Yeah, that's right. That was a cool card as a kid.
Yeah. Yeah, you couldn't play that as in a tournament, but that
Right.
was like, I remember like the first time I saw it, and I was like, oh, a Pokemon card could be like so much more than just this like yellow bordered thing.
Right.
Actually, there's one on our desk, on the Ruby Retro Historian's desk, hidden, if anyone's seen that. We have Elliot Gale in chat telling us that he got the Entei movie as a kid.
Yes. I sadly I could not go to theater, so I only got the J Unknown in the VHS box.
Well, you know why they gave the J is because they realized that they forgot to include it in a set. So, like, you actually couldn't complete the unknowns ever because J and R were promos, but they're like, oh, here's the J, like, we'll give you the R later, and then they just never did.
I actually thought it was really clever because it had a Pokemon League advertisement, and it was like, J join, and I was like, oh, I should go join Pokemon League, and then I didn't until much later.
Well, as we're winding down here, guys, Aaron, do you want to tell the viewers at home how you and I first met?
Yeah, sure. So in 2010? Yeah, I think it was 2010.
September 2010.
Yep. Up to that point, I had not really played the card game outside of the video game. Me and our friend Lance that we've mentioned were getting into just playing with our various cards. We had no idea that formats existed. We had no idea what the current game was like, so we built 2 decks. Mine was like using base set Electabuzz and Pikachu and like some other electric mons. I go to a Pokemon League to see what it's all about. I go up against Nick, who's just running the most meta build of Luxchomp possible, and he just annihilates me. And almost put me off completely from League. I was like, well, I can't compete in this. But instead, you know, we ended up becoming lifelong friends, and I got real into the game and had a lot of fun with it.
I felt so bad. It was so funny, right? Like I had left my like Luxchomp deck at a tournament, and so Professor Mikey gave it back to me because he had it. And I was like looking around. I like made sure all the cards were there. And I was like, oh, like, you know, so I saw like Aaron and Lance there because they were some of the first people there. I was like, oh, do you guys like want to play before we grab food? So we were at an Arby's for this league, and I like opened Garchomp, and he opens Pikachu and like Electabuzz, and this Pikachu has 40 HP, and so it went over to me. I think I like put a DCE down on the Garchomp, and like collected for some stuff, and like put down a Crobat, Flash Bit, and like KO'd Pikachu turn 1. Aaron sends up the Electabuzz and announces Thundershock to 10 and like hits the head on paralysis. I go like Cyrus's Conspiracy into SP Radar into Garchomp C level X to heal the paralysis and just whomp him with a Dragon Rush for 80.
What a guy.
For like the longest time, the running joke was, hey Nick, remember Aaron's first day at League? Awesome. Well, yeah, despite it all, here we are making these videos for you guys. So I think that's all the questions we have, unless, Aaron, why don't you go ahead and give us the intro on some of the new stuff we have coming our way?
Yeah, sure. So our next video is going to be covering the Charizard Mega Battle tournaments in Japan. This was 1997/8, I guess, technically.
Yep.
That'll be part 2 of our 3-part Origins series, which I'm excited about. I think the Japanese early metagame is very fascinating. It's just so Wild West, even though it's the East. But that'll be the next one. After that, we still got to make part 3, which is going to be the Blastoise Mega Battle Tournament, as well as Neo. We're up in the air on which one we'll necessarily do next. We'll probably end up throwing some kind of poll up to vote on that at some point. Speaking of, if you're interested in supporting us, we do now have a Patreon, a Ko-fi, one-time PayPal donation link, and a Discord. I linked the Discord earlier in the chat. All of these links are also in the description. If you want to or feel like you can support, feel free to. You get a nice credit in the videos, and also, particularly for Patreon, which is the only thing that currently has tiers, you'll get access to our Discord rooms, which allow you to help us create polls for content and vote on them. Yeah, Aaron and I are still working to figure out some of the logistics on the Patreon side, but right now we have
we want to put it up to you guys, as to the Patreon folks, as far as whether or not you want to see the Blastoise Mega Battle after the Charizard one, or if you wanted to see us do the Base to Neo video. And I know we also talked about, there's some different video series ideas that Aaron and I have kicked around, that Aaron has the fortunate, or I guess unfortunate circumstance of just getting random texts from me throughout the day. I'm just like, hey, I thought of a cool idea that, you know, we'll kind of talk to you guys in Patreon about and see if that's something you'd like to see us pursue and go after. Or maybe not. You know, we love hearing your guys' honest feedback. But really looking forward, though, to seeing everyone in Discord. I think there's a fair amount of Discord that's open to everybody.
Yeah, it's almost entirely free. There's only basically the voting rooms and then the, you know, Patreon/supporter chats that are exclusive to supporters. But outside of that, it's going to be a pretty open, free environment. You know, you feel free to support if you want. You don't have to. But definitely jump in there. It might turn into a fun community someday.
Yeah, I mean, and that's really why Aaron and I started making these videos in the first place. We thought, you know, when we hit 5,000 on the base set video, that was like incredible, and we couldn't wait to do the Team Rocket one. And we were like, wow, like we might have our own little niche community one day. Maybe we'll do like some merch, like have a meetup at NAIC. And then we just hit 10,000 subscribers. So we're like, okay, maybe this is something real.
Yep.
But from the bottom of our hearts, thank you guys so much for the continued support on the videos. We're really looking forward to continuing to push content out to you guys and continuing to work to bring you guys stuff that interests us and hopefully interests you as well.
Yes, thank you enormously. We could not have predicted that this would be successful at all, let alone so quickly. Getting to 10,000 subscribers in a matter of, what, 4 months?
Yeah, basically.
Ridiculous. Unbelievable. It is so much appreciated, and yeah, like Nick said, we're looking forward to making more content and hopefully finding more time to do so. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nick, Aaron, thank you both for letting me contribute in a small way. And especially thank you to all the subscribers who are, you know, interested in the content. I'm so happy to see that Aaron and Nick's extremely hard work and their, you know, 90% contribution, maybe 95% contribution to the channel is paying off and resonating with people. I mean, I've personally seen how hard Aaron works. I know Nick works his butt off to do solid narration. You know, these guys are the real deal, and they really care about making quality content. And I think that it's going to become, I think that this is a really great channel, and it could become a great community. So I'm really excited to see where it goes. Thank you, Aaron and Nick, and thank all of you subscribers and everybody who's tuned in today.
Yeah, and hopefully, maybe one day we'll have enough music from you, Alex, that we could do our own Ruby Retro album, Ruby Retro on Spotify.
That'd be fun. Yeah, for sure.
Well, again, thank you guys so much. We're gonna dip out here, but we wish you guys a great rest of your night, your morning, wherever you're watching from. Take care. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.